Hello and welcome to the Iceman channel. Today I'm starting a new concept. I call it Iceman Reacts. I'm gonna react on famous or current or any kind of RFID talk actually that's been presented out there. We have a list called Awesome RFID Talks on GitHub that's maintained by Philip Turven. So I will look into that one, select a talk and do a reaction video. Today I have selected another talk by Gerhard Klostermeier, and it's called RFID Payment System. Eat free drinks and eat all you can. Let's get started. For those who doesn't know, Gerhard is actually the developer behind the Mifare Classic tool app on Android. I think he has over 1 million downloads and is a well-known person in the RFID hacking community. So I'm looking forward to hear this one. And being a payment system, knowing it's in Germany, because it's German, I'm pretty sure that this talk will cover Legic Prime at least.
Hello everybody. When registering for this talk, I thought it is a good idea to do it in English to lower the language barrier, but by now, is anybody here not speaking German?
Yes, several of us. Thank you for choosing English.
Hey, this talk is for you. Okay, I will keep doing it in English. I try my very best. So today is about RFID payment systems. I am Gerhard. On the internet, I'm sometimes called Ikarus. I'm a pentester, hacker, researcher, and overall security enthusiast, especially when it comes to hardware or wireless systems. Most of them are in an embedded scenario, so talking Bluetooth smartwatches or stuff like this is very fun for me to analyze, and therefore RFID-based systems as well, because they are most of the time embedded and they have a wireless component to them. So what I want to do in this talk is
Told you so, Legic Prime, Mifare Classic. Alright, that's some broken systems out of the box.
To give a brief disclaimer of what it is about and what not. We will learn some RFID and NFC basics. And then we will go a little bit deeper into two technologies. Why these two? Anybody ever did something with RFID, he or she probably came across those two technologies. They're widely known, well spread, at least one of them it is. And they're known for being broken. So we'll have a closer look at them. And in the end, I want to give some examples, anecdotes, stories, of course, what I said with the title of this talk, the different systems I've analyzed and what I have found over the years at different companies, different vendors having broken systems for RFID payment. So what is it about? It's about NFC, it's about RFID, it's about hacking, it's about broken technologies. It's, like I said, about sharing stories, lessons learned when I have analyzed systems like these in the past. I'm talking about proprietary systems. It is not credit card or...
Disappointed. Here I thought you're gonna drop something about EMV. But then on the other hand, then you would have presented on a much larger scene.
Other EMV payment methods. So it's the things you typically see at your company canteen or Mensa or even at universities where you can pay with your student ID card. It is not very complicated hacks or anything like this. The knowledge is way out there in the internet. Everybody is welcome to put some effort into it, and he or she will be able to replicate these findings. So first of all, I want to give try to bring closer a general understanding of RFID and NFC so that we all know what we are talking about in this talk. The first thing is RFID. It's more like a collection of technologies. It's a term to describe basically any radio frequency identification systems. So it dates back into the Second World War, where even at the end some friend or foe detection for planes were our.
I always love when they bring that one up, because that's the first thing you bring up when you Google it. And it's so far from what we do today. So, yeah. But it always got up. I myself says this as well. Like, yeah.
RFID, so by wireless signals you can detect which plane to which it belongs to. When we think about RFID nowadays, most of the time at least, we think about more NFC. We think about passive tags, like the near field component, like credit cards when you put them close to a reader when paying something with them. NFC is more a subset from RFID, and compared to RFID, NFC is not a loosely a collection of standards. It is maintained, so the NFC forum is responsible for the NFC standards and well, what counts as NFC and what not. And most of the technologies, I think all of the technologies that are NFC are first of all passive. We will learn about that. They are around 13.56 megahertz. And typically the lower layers of these RFID tags that are used in NFC are from the ISO 14443 or ISO 15693 standard, sometimes Filica. It's a Japanese standard developed by Sony. So to understand that even within NFC, but generally talking about RFID, there are a lot of differences. So if we, for example, I guess some of you or most of you check into a hotel when you're not from here around, and you got a card to open your room, at least at most hotels, that is the case, you get a card. So far, we don't know much about the system, because getting a card, we don't know what's inside the card. So there are fundamental differences with RFID tags. First of all, there's something like the frequency. NFC tags all operate at the 13.56 megahertz range, but there are other RFID ranges that are well known. For example, the 125 kilohertz range is also common in some systems, especially also passive systems. And another fundamental difference is the power. When we talk about NFC, all the tags are passive, meaning if you have ever looked at your credit card for closer or on an X-ray or whatever, you probably notice that there's no battery in the device. At least in most of them, there's none. They're actually cards with batteries inside them. But these passive tags, the power comes from the reader. The reader emits an electromagnetic field, and the antenna of the card is a coil, so different winds of the antenna, so that the electromagnetic field can be used to induct power, and that is the power that drives the chip inside the RFID tag. There are active tags. They're not near field anymore, so if they come with a battery and they're used, for example, in forklifts, so that when you approach the door, it already opens even 10 meters away or something like this. So when I have a card, we don't know.
Sorry about that. We're skipping over the basics. I don't think we were that much interested in it. Let's go on.
Much, because in that card can be a lot of different technologies. This is really just a small extract. So even with different frequencies, there are a lot of different technologies that could be possibly inside such a tag. Some of them are more widespread, others are not that well known. This is another overview, and it's not even complete. It's just from.
I think this is a better overview for what NFC stands for. You can see RFID is not that, it's a subset of everything, but I would say that everything down here on application levels and everything down here is what you consider RFID. But then this is just products on top of it. NFC forum decides there's 5 different types of tags. It doesn't show the 5th here, but they have a standard for it, and it's set to send NF messages, and that's why we all call it a subset. But let's see what he says about it.
Wikipedia, the NFC article. So even when we try to standardize all that, at least on the lower layer, that is where you can see the ISO standards coming in. In the upper layers, you can see different products. So even if we know it's an NFC tag and it talks according to the ISO standard, the tag can be different because it's a different product. So there can be different features. For example, some of the tag, they are just memory cards, basically. You can write data to them, you can read data from them, and that's it. Other tags are more advanced. They have password protection, for example. You can only read the data if you provide a password first. So that can be the case too. So there's really, really a lot of different tags.
So what you're missing here is actually the type 5. That would be NFC V, and that's the ISO 15693. That column is missing in this picture.
Too many tags for me to discuss them in this talk, or possibly in any talk. So when we have a tag, first of all, we need to identify it, and then we have to learn more about the tags, what it provides in terms of security, how it works. We cannot do it for all, so this is why we do it at least for 2 of them that are really relevant to this talk, because they are. The first one, Mifare Classic, is very, very widespread. At least to my knowledge, it's still the most widespread technology of NFC or RFID to this time.
Oh yeah, massive success. Billions, I say, products or chips of this Mifare Classic is out there in the world, and it's not going away.
You can find it anywhere, from hotel systems, from opening doors, from paying in your canteen or mensa, from even at vending machines, getting hot showers at some locations. All these solutions are done with Mifare Classic. A lot of them are, at least. Not so well known is Legic Prime. I think the main reason for that is Legic Prime is, I think it was a Switzerland-based company. I'm not 100% sure.
Good question. I don't even know that myself. Was it Austria? I think it was Austrian. Could be Swiss. Let me know in the comments below what it is.
And they are more well known in Europe, especially in Germany or Switzerland. So they're not that far out. So in America, I don't think a lot of the RFID hacking community comes across Legic Prime tags. Why these 2? I already said, because they're broken, but we want to have a closer look how they're broken and how they actually operate if they're not broken. First of all, a common misconception I see a lot, at least when talking to customers. I ask them, okay, what technology is inside the card? The most common answer is, I don't know. The second common answer is Mifare. And they read somewhere, yeah, Mifare is insecure, maybe we have to test that. So to make this clear, Mifare is a collection. It's a series of chips produced by NXP. And Mifare, as it is, you cannot determine what actually Mifare is with only this word, Mifare. So you have to find out, is it Mifare Classic? Is it Mifare Deathfire? Is it Mifare Ultralight? Is it Mifare Ultralight C? Is it Mifare Plus? Is it Mifare Smart MX? I'm not sure if there is more, but there are a lot of different technologies that are starting with Mifare, and they're all different, at least to some degree. So first of all, we're talking about Mifare Classic. This is a pretty old technology, I think the end of the 90s. I'm not 100% sure on the date. The actual card is a relatively simple storage card. The storage on that card is divided into sectors and blocks. And you can protect the blocks from reading or writing, and you can do that by using keys. So a common example would be to, let's say, in sector 3, block number 2 is only readable with key A and writable with key B, because there are 2 keys per sector that we can use to define our permissions, access conditions, they are called for Mifare Classic.
I'm pretty sure here that we'll have a memory outlet from how Mifare Classic looks like. It's very hard by just saying it out and get an understanding how it looks like. I'm happy you brought up Mifare as a product range or a concept, and that within that product range there are loads of different technologies. Some are more secure or state-of-the-art secure, and then there's old tech like this one. And Mifare Classic, yeah, it's a famous talks about that, speaking about, from Germany. Carsten Noll and Henrik Plötz did some really badass crypto by reversing the chip, by depotting and delayering the chip, the IC itself, and recovering the crypto algorithm that way. And then Dutch hackers with Roel and Garcia and all those guys did also. And then it was what was those? Nemthemba, who made the nested attack. I don't know. It all came out 2007, 2008, 2009. There was some article about it also in a book that I read or wrote about the experience all these researchers was actually feeling and doing, and they went through this stage of euphoria. It was like, yeah, we actually fucking broke it totally. And I mean, wow, they must have been felt like like the climbed Mount Everest or something. But that's kind of awesome. That's the OG guys.
Sick. But the security of Mifare Classic is broken, and broken since 2007. There's actually a good talk from the Ikarus Communication Congress on that matter, because somebody actually put the time in and the effort in and analyzed these cards on a deeper level. And on a deeper level, I mean like looking into the chip and how the chip is done, because nobody knows until this point how the actual security of this chip works, and it turns out they built their own crypto. And most of the time that's a recipe for disaster, and it was in that case as well. So they had not a very good crypto algorithm. It's called Crypto 1. It has a lot of flaws, and on top of that they used a pseudonym random number generator that's also not very strong. So it was possible to implement attacks that can recover the keys of those cards. Then, because it's very widespread, NXP distributed an update for the card. It's not like updating the card, but newer cards. They called EV1 cards, so Mifare Classic EV1, even a difference to Mifare Classic. So you can see there is really a lot of different technologies going around with that. And they got an updated random number generator, and the attacks from 2007 no longer worked. But
yeah, if you ever see this MFC, that's our shortening for Mifare Classic. So if it says MFDES, and then it's DESFire, and if it says MFUL, it's ultralight. That's what we denote to shorten as Mifare Classic, so we don't repeat that word all over the place. Funniest thing with that EV1, they also had the signature. They fixed some of the bugs. It was like 4 attacks, different attacks. Read that research. It's really great research paper to look in, and some great talks about it. And they fixed it. They patched it all up.
Still, the crypto algorithm to being backward compatible were still broken. So other researchers found ways to improve the attacks to make them work on newer versions, and they published a paper.
Yeah. It's the same guy again, Roel, who claimed already 2008, 2010, that there was a fundamental flaw in how the parity bits were calculated. And during a master thesis again, with another famous person in this community, decided, that was, what was his name? He was Carlos Meyer. That was it. Was his master thesis who made this paper in 2015, where he implemented that attack, which is now called the hard-nested attack, by analyzing the property of the parity bits, who then got implemented in the Proxmark world by 3 people, who kind of badass crypto people. That was Blapost, it was PVPV, and it was RM. And a combo of PVs and RM's solutions turned out to be the fastest, and that's what we have today. And it's a really amazing piece of art when you look at code, and if you look at how it attacks the whole concept. It's like a time memory trade-off attack. So you have big pre-calculated tables combined with a brute forcer that is bit sliced. It's an amazing piece of code if you're into cracking things. Yeah.
The paper is pretty good, pretty well detailed. So the RFID hacking community took that paper and actually implemented it on the Proxmark 3. Proxmark 3, who of you ever heard from the Proxmark 3 device?
I do.
Okay, a lot of you. Yeah, it's basically the universal RFID hacking tool. It's like the Swiss Army knife for RFID hacking. It is really flexible, and there are a lot of different from these technologies is implemented on this device, and it can do a lot. For example, it can do all the key recovery attacks that are in these papers that the device can do. It can also act as a card, so it can simulate a card. It can really do a lot, and for a lot of different technologies. This is how it could look like when you have a look at the Mifare Classic tag. So what you see is the sectors, and within the sectors each line represents a block, and the last line of each sector is called sector trailer, and it has the...
You want to see a hidden knowledge about this? This output here, I'm pretty sure this is made by a script, the Python script that Pavel Sovol made, and that's the guy who made the Flipper Zero. And this is Mifare Classic tool, his own tool, this from ikarus. I like it.
The meta information, so the bytes on, I'm not sure if I can, you can see my mouse, okay, yeah, you can. So the yellow part over here, that's key A, and the other part is key B. Of course, you cannot normally read them, and they just in there when they got cracked. This is where they stored, and the part in the middle, at least most of it, is the access condition. So there's encoded what these keys are used for. The very first line is not changeable. It is hard-coded into a tag. There's also included the unique ID. Every tag has a unique ID. It's a number that represents what tag it is, because RFID, it's radio frequency identification, and the easiest part to identify them is by a unique ID. Nowadays, it's, first of all, most of them were 4 bytes, and this technology was so successful that 4 bytes wasn't enough, so they're no longer unique. Newer cards have 7-byte UIDs. You can go up to 10-byte UIDs within the standard, and it's important to know also, even with that, they're no longer unique in that regard, because this technology is so successful that other Asian, Chinese vendors reverse engineered Mifare Classic as a chip and built their own chips, but cheaper, and you no longer know if the UIDs that they put out are unique. And even more, you can get special cards, they're called magic cards for the most of the time, where you can actually change the UID. This is important if you are into cloning a card, because once you got the keys, you can read out everything from the card, and you can program it to a new card, but it will not be 100% identical clone, because the first block, the vendor block, is not changeable. But with those special cards, it is. Or you have a Proxmark 3 that can emulate the card and put whatever in there.
You can actually emulate with several more devices, the Flipper Zero, the Chameleon. Yeah. I think even on older Android phones, you can, where you have access to the HCL, you could simulate it.
For Legic Prime, the story is a little bit different. Well, first there's something common. Legic is again just a series, so there's Legic Prime and Legic Advanced. I'm not sure if there are more, but Legic Prime is the old and broken technique. It is not compatible with NFC. So what we saw on this screenshot on the side, this is a screenshot from an Android phone, because most of the technology we're talking about here, especially Mifare Classic, is NFC compatible, at least to some degree. You can use most smartphones to interact with Mifare Classic cards. You cannot do that with Legic Prime, unfortunately, although it's operating at 13.56 megahertz. Then the memory is different again, so this is a completely different technology. The memory is organized in segments. You can format them to different spaces within the card. And then again, what they have in common is the security of them is broken since 2008. And it is even more broken, or it wasn't there in the first place. So what they found out when the researchers, also a talk from the Congress, you can watch it, what they found out when they had a closer look is that there actually just is no security. It's just security through obscurity. So people were never able to read or write these tags because they didn't understand how they work. But once somebody put the time into them, you can just read the tag. You just have to know how, and how to deobfuscate the data. So if you have a card from company A and go over to company B and present it to the reader, why the card does not work at company B is just because the reader of company B realizes this is a card from company A, that's not my company, I will stop reading it. But if you have a device like a Proxmark 3, why stop reading? You can just read and you get the data from that card.
Same guys again, Carsten Knoll and Henrik Plutz. Great talk about it, and it's not 100% true that there's no security in it. There are measures which you can consider security on it, but yeah, it's like sword bite, and there is some CRCs, and then there is the UID, or the ID on the card is a little bit special. So, but once you have all that mapped down, yeah, it's just reading right. But there's no magic Legic Prime cards out there.
So we can do that with a Proxmark 2. I'm not sure about other tools that are good with interfacing with Legic Prime. The Flipper Zero at this point is not. I think there's a GitHub issue often open to, but nobody put the time in to actually find out, first, is it possible with the chip that this device has? And nobody implemented something so far.
As I know, I have not seen any other device who can read Legic Prime, besides the genuine readers of Legic Prime, of course. So that would be like TVN4 from Elatic, this was a German company as well. They can read it, so you can like talk to it normally, but not unnormally, the way you want to do it when you are interested in hacking things. Does that make sense?
To my knowledge, at least. This is how the memory of a Legic Prime tag can look. But to make this more interesting for you to get a little closer look, I want to try some demos. We will look at these different card technologies, and I will try to explain what I normally do when I try to identify a tag like this. So the very first thing I do is a smartphone, because most of the tags, there are NFC tags. Most of them are, at least the ones we come across in our daily business. If it's NFC, then the smartphone should be able to give me some information, at least, about this. And there's a good app, it's called Tag Info. It's by the chip manufacturer NXP that produces Mifare. So it's pretty good to find out information about those cards. And we can try to do that. I have a smartphone here, and I will just play I will use the Tag Info app, and I will use some Mifare Classic card, or at this point I don't know what this card can do, let's say that. It takes quite some while, and it finds some interesting information. It doesn't know what it is, for sure, possibly a clone chip. They do this, now it's an old card, maybe it's not even a clone chip, but they cannot find out if it's a genuine tag or not, because these old tags have no way to make this sure. The newer ones, The EV1 cards, the better Mifare Classic EV1 cards, they have actually a signature from NXP on them, and you can verify if this is a genuine card. I will take another one.
It was funny that we said that unknown. But I think that changed like 1-2 years ago for the NXP tag info card app. And we started doing that after they, for those older cards which you presented, they most likely, the manufacturing block, the red block, you saw that on the first on Mifare Classic on that slide. It's in the end of the 6-8 bytes in the end of that 16 bytes length, and those are manufacturing data, and if they can decode that to be something the NXP realize it fits into the patterns, it will not say that this is a clone device or cloned IC. If that data is something else, like an increasing number, which you see for some Chinese Fudang clones, you will get this message. So that's how that would be one of the ways we would have identified it before. But this app is very good to decompile and reverse if you want to learn how to identify different technologies. Just saying.
This one is looking better. It says Mifare Classic, and this is why I like this device. It's pretty precise with its output. So you can actually find the actual chip that is in the card. You find the data sheet for it, and you can get more information from the full scan tab where you see the UID, the AD. You can see even if they use keys, so there's a factory key when you buy the card empty, free, new. The factory key is all Fs, and if it's all Fs, it tries to authenticate with all Fs.
This is a little bit funny though, because it looks even like we're trying to read out this unknown key now in NXP info. So it seems like we're doing some simple kind of dictionary attack against a card. Or the access rights allows to reading out this part of the data from sector trailer. The last 6 bytes there is also available for that sense. Kind of interesting to know.
And read out the data, so we just see even some data. Other blocks, we were not that successful. So blocks 3, we can see we were not able to read with a default key. Let's try the same with the Legic card. I put the Legic card under the app. Nothing happens. Well, no wonder. We learned earlier that Legic Prime is not compatible with with smartphones with NFC. So what we have to do is to find another way to make sure that we know what this card is. So the smartphone does nothing.
The question is that because of licensing that they didn't allow it? So Legic didn't allow for NFC Forum and Android to use it? Or they didn't, I don't know. If you know that, please let me know in the comments below.
We even know if this is a high frequency or a low frequency card. We cannot be sure at this point, but we can use our smartphone again to determine if it's a high frequency or low frequency card. There's a special device built into your smartphone that is possible, that makes it possible to detect that, and it's called the flashlight. You can shine light through the text. And if you do it to a really high, with a good setup, you can actually see how the antenna is within these chips. And high frequency tags, so this is all different high frequency tags. You see the antenna layout. There are not that many wines for the coil. Sometimes you even can count them if it's like printed designs, like the...
Isn't it fun? This is Philippe Tervan's RFID Gone Wild gallery. Yeah, so Joe Jocks, that's him. That's amazing pictures for different kind of technologies you can see there.
First 3. And if you compare it to low frequency antennas, you can see a difference. Low frequency has way more wines on the coil, and it's much more denser, it's blacker. You can see that even with your smartphone when you look through a card, so you can be pretty sure at this point it's a high frequency or low frequency card. If we do that for Legic Prime, we will see more something like this. So it's a high frequency card that is not NFC because our smartphone didn't detect anything. Sometimes really evil things happen. I was tricked by them as well. Some manufacturers put even 2 chips inside one card. Some of them are...
I've been tricked with that as well for years.
The first one is obviously a high frequency and a low frequency chip inside the card, but sometimes even for migration phases they use different chips on the same band that I've seen also. So when you have a Legic Prime system that is broken and you want to, let's say, update to Mifare Desfire, a new standard, it's both 13.56 megahertz. So you put both chips in there that the old systems can work as long and until the reader gets upgraded or something like this, and newer readers already can use the more secure technology. Anyways, I can really recommend these gallery. If you haven't noticed, it's NFC RFID gone wild, so you can see a lot of naked RFID stuff there. It's not only text, also disassembled readers or RFID hacking tools, and you can contribute by sending your own photos or images. So okay, back to the Legic Prime tag. So our smartphone does not help. In that case, I will shut it down. We will need our Proxmark for that. I have one here with me. And I'll quickly clear up the menu.
Oh man, that was a long time you flashed your bot ROM, man. That wasn't that long, but half a year. You don't need it, but yay. And mismatch. Ikarus. I know that you don't want the signature to be there, but it can be arranged if we want to. Just saying.
This here. I will put a Legic Prime tag on the Proxmark, and we already know it's a high frequency tag. So if we say HF for high frequency, because Proxmark can do both high frequency and low frequency, the 125 kilohertz, he can also do the device. And we will somewhere here in the supported list that it can actually do Legic. And if I type HF Legic, this is how the menus are built. You will see I have get different options to read the tag or even to just dump the tag. You see there's no operations like cracking keys, key recovery or something, because like I said, there is no such thing in my Legic Prime. So what we can do, if we're not 100% sure that is Legic but a high frequency, we can just use search. The Proxmark tries different technologies that it is aware of, and when some tag answers to that, we see at least the unique ID for Legic Prime. The unique IDs are those 4 bytes. They call them MCD and MSN. I'm not sure what the...
I think that would be manufacturer serial number, and then manufacturing... I don't know, what does MCD mean?
What the actual letters mean, I don't remember. So it is Legic Prime. We know with HF Legic we can look at it, and the info command said just read out all the data and deobfuscate it and show it to me, and that is basically what it does. So we are finished with that. Just put that into a terminal, we can see all the data, we can modify all the data also with writing, and nothing more to it. So this is why the technology is broken, because we can just read and write to it without any restrictions. Well, there is a restriction on original card. I cannot change the UID again, like the unique part. So for a perfect clone, it would be great to at least emulate such a card. And if we go back into the a Legic menu, you see there is a sim command that can actually simulate these tags, so we can do that. So cloning is always an option. We can do the same for Mifare Classic. For Mifare Classic, now we know it is Mifare Classic, but we don't know all the keys, so we cannot read all the data. So we have to do key recovery. And the key recovery, there are a lot of different methods available. There are different attacks for that, or just simple things like brute forcing or more efficiently checking a word list with well-known keys, because a lot of the keys are already well-known, and these tools come with pretty big word lists of well-known keys. Even so well-known, side story, the hotel I checked in, I got a Mifare Classic card to open my door, and I put it on the reader, and the keys are already in the library, so they're well-known, nothing to crack there. So, but for this card we don't know, and we don't know what this card is. I mean, we can have a closer look. I think it was info, or even, yeah, info shows it is an old card. It already has the weak random number generator. So I can try even the old attacks, and I can try them manually and crack key by key by key, but this is rather exhausting. So there's this command, helps a lot. It just tries every strategy like word lists, and it found the well-known keys, and it used the nested attack. We can see that it's already finished, cracked all the keys. Of course, a lot of the keys were the ones from the dictionary. That's why it shows a D here. But these keys were not, at least in the small dictionary, and that it uses the nested attack to get the.
So yes, there's two default key lists in this little world. One is the hard-coded list, which was used, which is a minor subset of dictionary keys. And then there's the file, the dictionary file, which is like 1600 keys or something like that. And if you use a flipper, I'm so sorry for you, because those people messed that up and added all kinds of crap into it. So you have like 4, 5, 6,000 keys in that one. And yeah.
The keys. Now we can read everything. We don't even have to, because the command already does that for me. It's not only recovering the key, it's just reading out the full card and dumping it for me as well. So HFMF view, I think it was. Oh, yeah, okay. We can have a look now at the full memory with everything is in there. Well, it isn't something in there, it's an empty card with just some changed key, but this is how it works normally. And if you have, let's say, so this will be the first system we will look at in a second. It's an old student card. So it's a student ID card that you get from your university or college. And for this we see it is not able to find a key from the word list, and it runs the dark side attack. It's an attack. They have all cool names. It's an attack that is able to recover one key if no key is known, but it's not very effective. So when it has one key, it switches to the nested attack, but the nested attack requires that at least one key is known. And it found one key, and now it's cracking all the different other keys. It will take, I don't know, maybe a minute. We can wait for it and see. The newer hardened cards with the better random number generator will take longer, but we're still talking about minutes or...
Oh my, I think nested has some extra spaces or new lines that needs to be removed. That doesn't look nice. Damn.
Maybe even half an hour, but normally that is when you got all the keys from such a card, so there's no way to actually make it secure. The newer ones, the dark side attack doesn't work, so you have to know at least one key to make this work. But that's most of the time not that hard, and even if you don't know one key, you can attack the reader. Even the flipper 0 can that. You can present the flipper 0 to it, and the authentication tries from the reader. You can put them into a cracking tool and will crack one key, the key that the reader tried to authenticate against your fake card, and then you can use the known key to crack the rest of them. So this is possible. It's no magic. It is magic, probably, for me at least it is, but I don't have to understand, so these tools have them all implemented. So now we have a complete dump of the student ID card. So now to the fun part. I want to tell you some stories about broken systems I've seen when analyzing different systems from vendors.
Hey, I saw that dictionary, that your student card, those keys, they're not in the dictionary or anything like that. So if you have one of those student cards that's Ikarus is talking about here, and we can compare if the keys are same or if it's an algorithm that is used to diverse those keys, that would be interesting to know and see if we can improve a Proxmark world.
And companies that I did penetration tests for, but sometimes also in my free time. There will be no like company names or detailed instructions. You saw it. It's pretty easy to crack these cards after all, but it's important. Most of it is fraud. If you get drinks for free or something, or increases your balance on these cards, so don't do that without any consent. So the old one is a student ID card. Nearly all student ID cards in Germany are from one company, at least that was the case some years ago. They were Mifare Classic based. They are no longer. In most cases, they are Mifare Deathfire now, and you no longer can crack them. Mifare Deathfire, at least to my knowledge, is secure. Not all of them is, and I think KIT here, I'm not sure if they upgraded, but they don't use the system of this company, so it's a different story for them anyways. The money is stored just in value blocks, and there is some simple checksum you have to find out to manipulate data on that card, but if you, and long story short, the balance that is on the card, let's say 10 euros, is not synced or...
Oh my god. Never trust the data on an RFID card, which is a Mifare Classic, or basically they don't. Always verify it in the back end. But if your system isn't connected to the internet or cannot check it in the back end by wire, what to do? Then you have to trust it like this.
Paired or compared live when you're shopping. So if you say you spent the 10 euros, there is 0 euros on the card, and you say, okay, I write in this value block I have 10 euros, you can actually buy something for 10 euros because the syncing with the backend system will be later in case, I guess, for most of the time it's for when the network has some downtime issues, so the cards will still work, but sometimes the syncing is just too late and you will be able to shop. I did a talk on that a long time ago with more details about the student card, how it works, where all the different information is stored, and you can still find it online. Long story short, yes, you could get free drinks. I wasn't able to because my university didn't allow me to try it, but another researcher at the same time had the same findings, and he got consent and was able to try it, and it did work. What I got consent for is trying the access system, and yes, I was able to access every door on the campus. Once I assigned myself a number of a professor or janitor that is able to go in every room. Another interesting system, it is interesting because it's popular. I saw it in many companies. I think you can get it with different technologies. The one I saw was Legic Prime. Of course, now we know already that it is at least to some degree broken because Legic Prime is not secure. And when I did some shopping, I also noticed that the comparison against the back-end systems was not live or not fast enough, and even for that system I found some vending machines that are offline anyways, where you can get some snacks, chocolate bars or whatever, and since they are not online, they have to trust the balance that is on the card, and since it's Legic Prime, we can read or write any data to that card, so I did exactly that. Slightly increased my card and was ready for shopping. Well, I didn't shop that much, but the customer said, please leave me the card there. I need this for demonstration.
Well, I think we have to, if you want to improve things, so for Legic Prime, the data in rest, meaning the data that is stored on the card, is not protected by any access keys in that sense. But that doesn't mean that the implementation could encrypt the data before it saves it onto the tag. So you have encrypted at rest, and then you protect it with a CRC on HMAC or something like that. That would make that system extremely secure, because if you mix it up also with MCD, MCN, the 4 unique bytes that you cannot easily copy in that sense, you would have at least something that's more secure. I know that if you buy a Legic Prime blank, you can set those values, and that's a problem. No, you set the what's that called? Well, what I try to say anyway is that data in rest, you can at least protect that, and you would be able to do something that, connected a little bit unique. Yeah, but yet again, the people who develop these tools are not very versed in how the memory cards itself works and operates, and they just try with vendors. They say, yes, Legic Prime is good, trust us, and that is not true.
Purposes to my executives, I'm not sure what he ever did with that card. Another interesting one, it's again a Legic Prime based systems, but it wasn't as easy in the first place because there was a checksum involved, and I wasn't really familiar with these checksums. Turns out most of the Legic Prime systems, when they have a checksum, a 1-byte checksum, it's just a Legic CRC8. It's a well-known algorithm. The Proxmark already has it. So the only important thing you have to find out is what data is part of the CRC. So you can write a small script. In that case,
it wasn't that easy to get the CRC8. The researchers didn't want to release that algorithm of the poly numbers that's used for it, and the polynomials that was used in it. So it took some researching and actually reaching out to some people in order to get enough hints and then enough data to verify and make it work. So that's a backside story again. But, just because the Proxmark can do it, it didn't come without an effort, I can tell you that.
The data I put there were part of the CRC, and if you update the CRC alongside with your manipulation, you can manipulate any data at will again. And of course, it was also able to create a card with a high balance once we can write everything. But
yet again, if you look at the VRC, write read content protected area and remaining write protected area, if you encrypted that would have been much more secure. He wouldn't be able to do this. End of story. He could have copied it and let the Proxmark simulate it. Yes, he could. That wouldn't solve that, but it would solve at least, easy changing on the card. It's very much easier to see if someone presents a device to pay for something versus if someone just presents a card. So you could make it a little bit more or better in this situation.
This system had another really interesting twist to it. Even better, I was able to program the card to a cost center, Kostenstelle. So this was the point for infinite money glitch. So what I can just say, whatever I buy with this card, at the end of the month, this goes into the budget of this department. There's no amount of the card. It never runs empty. I'm not sure. I didn't try to buy too much with it, but it worked. Only for demonstration, and the customer allowed me to, so should be fine. Another interesting approach. I think it's so clear that you sometimes don't think about it, is the don't know, don't care approach, I call it. It was a Mifare Classic based system at the customers, but I didn't have the time to actually look closer. Of course, I had the time to crack the keys, but it's a thing of minutes. But understanding if they're checksum, where's the money stored, in what format is the money stored on that card, I didn't have any idea. What I did, I just put 50 euros on the card. I read out the card because I know the keys, made a backup of the card, Then I spend all the money. Then I restart the backup. And then I spend all the money, and then I restart the backup, and then I spend. So even if we don't understand what is on that card, and even if there are checksums, well, they're always valid if I know, well, use a valid backup file.
This is exactly the same thing with a Charlie card and all the most transport systems you see. If you can take the original memory from a valid card and then just replay it, and it will work. It's only detected if the reader goes to the backend, and backend has a whitelist of UIDs, and then check for disruptive behaviors. So it's like, whoa, this one here has been spending 50 euros several times, but we don't see any actually top-up transactions. So that would be easily detected in a backend system or for it. So even if you do this, to be honest, you don't even need to do step 3, 4, 5. You can use generation 4 magic cards to sort this out. I mentioned that to the Charlie people as well. I researched there as a comment once. So the latest magic cards has something that's called shadow memory, which makes you very easily perform this attack or concept, proof of concept. Apparently used to circumvent Malaysian transport tickets. Go figures. People are always interested in fraud, so don't do it. But it's very easy when it comes to Mifare Classic.
And if the system, again, the system didn't check with the back-end systems that my balance is correct, so this worked as well. This one was really interesting because it's not only about free food. So it was a Mifare Classic system, broken again. And as a guest, you can go to this company and say, okay, I'm only here for 2 days. I want to have a guest card, and you can go to a vending machine and we'll give you a guest card. And you can say, I want to load 5 euros on that guest card, and you do that with your EC card. You put it into a reader as well, and it will withdraw the money and put it on the
I can see where this one is going.
company card. And once your visit is over, and let's say you only spend 3 euros from that 5 euros, you have 2 euros left on the card, and you go back to the terminal, put in the card, put in your EC card and says, please give me my money back, the 2 euros that are still on the card, and put it on my account that is linked to the EC card. And again, the backend system didn't really compare that, or at least it didn't do any error, because that customer was nice enough to give me a closer look into the backend system. You have to read that from bottom to top. So I was there, I put in an EC card, you can see it has 0 euros on there, I put 5 euros on there, and then there's 5 euros on the card. I spent different amounts until I have only 60 cents left on the card. And you can see in the next line, it says there are 95 cents on the card. So what I did, I just restored the line before where there were still 95 cents. Then I put it into the machine. It said, please give me back my money. I want to have that on my account again. And yes, it actually worked. I got the money back. So it should only give me 60 cents because only 60 cents is the money that I still have, but it did give me 95 cents. So it's a small amount, but was enough as a proof of concept. And after that, I just did some testing more with spending more money I didn't have at that point. But interesting enough, for this system, this can actually make your money. So I can put 1 euro on there and then change the value to 100 euros and then go to the machine and say, give me back my 100.
Yes, but it also leaves a digital trace back to a bank account. So, yes, because you can change data on the RFID card and do that, there will be a digital trace track record, but it's kind of easy to do. The way he's showing here shows the logs, which means they have a very hard time following that line. And it should actually have some kind of description telling that, hold on, there's something here. So this software is not very good in keeping track of things. This should have been detected a long time ago in the backend system, so that's crap. So you can actually, if you keep within the values that are loaded up and don't do it, I think that would be a more feasible way. But saying that you're gonna get 100 euros back, which is a major bug in that sense, but you want to get away with it. You will not get away with that. So why worry yourself for it? If you do 10,000 euros or 100,000 euros, you will get caught instantly.
Euros. So it actually is printing you money. And maybe at some point the financial department finds that out and sees that. And the last thing,
I think at one university they actually give cashback, so I think I saw another talk and they said it was a little bit like Las Vegas when they actually...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there is a talk milking the digital cash cow, and it's a talk about the student ID card, and they had a department like this also. So if you're a student only for one semester at this university, you can give your card back and you get your money back. This was exactly the same. You can put money on the card that wasn't there, and you get the money. Yeah. And the last one that I'm finished is an Irish pub gift card at an Irish pub, so no longer a company. So it was an Irish pub, and a friend of mine got a gift card, and he said, look at this gift card, I can buy us beer, and we can just put it on the gift card. There are 10 euros on that card. It's fine. And the gift card was just a Mifare Classic card. I was interested, okay, how does this work? And we had a closer look, and of course, the points of sales system terminal did not track the amount. Also, we found out where the amount is stored. We manipulated the amount, and we found out, of course, you can put more money on the gift card that actually is there, and the points of sales.
God heavens! There should be a law against this. No, this should be forbidden. Oh. Whoever programmed this, shame on you. Oh my God. I'm not surprised, but damn.
Don't recognize the gift card and the amount that was initially put into the account, and you can get free drinks and all you can eat at this point. Of course, important lessons with all of this. Going to the last point on that slide, we talked to the Irish pub owner. Also in that case, we give back the money from the beer we bought for free. We informed him, and we also informed the vendor of the points of sale systems. So that is always a good idea. Be responsible, get consent when you're doing this, because sometimes it's way too easy, and if you mess up, there might be consequences. I'm pretty sure there are. For me, there wasn't, because I asked before, and I recommend to do the same. But to sum up, everything you saw in this talk is just don't use old and broken RFID technologies. And the other one is, if you do, at least have a back-end system that keeps track of everything, informs you if a balance is not correct, and doesn't allow a payment if a balance is not correct, at least for the most cases. In the better world, just get a better RFID system that is not vulnerable to these attacks, and that will help. So that's it. I'm ready for questions if there are any.
All right, that was a good talk. I liked it. I liked it, Ikarus. I liked it, Gerhard. Number one, thumbs up. And some fun stories. That's some fun stories. I cannot help it, but those developers should be ashamed of themselves. Yeah. With that said, let me know in the comments below your favorite war story that you heard and what you think about it. And like and subscribe, please.